Hello, everyone. This is me and Dave. Hope
Hello,
everyone's doing
everyone.
well. As you know me, you know me. If you've been watching Leaders Talk, if you haven't, we talk about leadership and sometimes mental health and stuff like that. If you know Dave Burse, then you are a very fortunate person, to be quite honest. But I'll let Dave introduce. I'll let Dave introduce himself. Obviously he has online presentation skills, and I'm sure he has a thing or two to say about that as well.
Hello. Well, if I'm introducing myself, I am an author, a consultant, public speaker, and exotic dancer. And I was mainly focused on creativity and innovation, particularly looking at like neuroscience, social psychology, and things like that. And then AI blasted onto the scene in November 2022, and I immersed myself in it. And last year ended up becoming one of the top AI instructors on LinkedIn Learning. Ended up traveling the world, talking about AI, doing lots of courses on it. So yeah, that's my life completely changed last year, and I turned into one of those tech geeks, which I never intended to become, but there we go.
Well, I mean, you've definitely managed to build quite a reputation between the books that you've been publishing and the e-learning courses with LinkedIn. It's definitely proven to, put your mark in the field.
It's been it's been interesting. It's been unexpected, but it's been very welcome. I'm really enjoying it, and even today I've been working with a startup that's got sort of AI tools built into it that I've been sort of advising on and helping with, and it's a very interesting space because it's still the Wild West. It's not settled down yet, and that's what excites me, because I remember when the internet was like that before it became boring, and that is that's what excites me when things aren't defined. They're still finding their way, and you're constantly getting surprises as to what's happening next. So yeah.
Well, I'm still
That's all.
definitely in the process of like an undefined area. I mean, I'm doing a bit of everything. I work a bit
Yes.
with my family. I work a bit with my own company's partner, and then I also do this podcast. Which this is honestly my favorite part of everything that I do, because it's you get to be creative here, complete creativity, which is for me is a blessing. But you actually had an interesting career. I remember that one time you told me you started in music, and then you
Yes.
got into advertising. You want to take us on the journey, since today's topic is kind of careers and jobs?
Yeah. Well, I went to university, did a degree in computer programming and advanced mathematics, and all of the computer programming languages are now dead. Fortran, COBOL, Pascal, they're all gone, really. No one uses them. And I went, I did that because I wanted to become a musician. And I thought it's good to have a degree to fall back on. So while I was at
Okay.
university, I worked as a session musician. So I would play different musical instruments. I was known as Dave and his bag of weird shit. And I would turn up at a recording studio and just unzip this bag, and people would pull out instruments and they go, "What's that?" And I go, "It's a rabab. It's a one-stringed Middle Eastern violin." "What does that sound like?" "Ying, ying." "Well, if some of that." "What is that?" "It was a Vietnamese nose flute." And I would have this stuff, and I instruments that I built. So I built like electronic bleep machines and grunt boxes and all sorts of things. And I get called into the studio to do that kind of stuff. And I used to go on tour. And when I left, when I came out of university, I then did a postgraduate. And just before I finished that, a record label in Scotland said, "Come and work for us. We want you to work for the label. We're going to train you up as a recording engineer, and you'll work as a musician as well. So you'll play for the bands on the record label." So I did. And I did that when I left university. And I then took all sorts of weird circuitous routes because music didn't really pay very well. So I would take on jobs on the side. At one point, I was doing the travel news in Scotland at 6 in the morning to 9 in the morning. So I'd be saying, there's a tailback on the M9 in Scotland. There's sheep on the road. You're better to go slow. Ridiculous stuff. And then I became a stand-up comedian at one point by complete accident, and I did stand-up for the BBC. And
I
then
feel like that's how most stand-up comedians get started, is kind of by
by,
accident.
by accident, yeah. Then they offered me a part in a TV series, writing topical songs every single week. And I got offered my first job in advertising the week before. And I decided to go into advertising rather than do this TV show. And I think it was the right move. I don't regret it in any way. And then I spent 20 years in advertising. And I quit advertising in 2010. I got bored of it, wanted my next thing. And since then, I've been teaching at universities around the world. I've written books. I had my own television series about 10 years ago in the UK that I wrote, directed, and presented. And I've done all sorts of stuff. In the last 5 years, I've been a LinkedIn learning instructor. So I've got about a dozen courses or something on the platform, and there's more to come. I've got more courses on the way.
There's more to come, so everyone subscribe and follow today.
Absolutely. So I've had a very strange route through my career. It's not been conventional. I've had more than one thing going at any time. So I've always got side projects. I've always got other things I'm doing. I've never felt comfortable doing just one thing. So even when I was in advertising, I would have things on the side. I had a social enterprise at one point. I had a recording studio that I ran as well at one point. I was a poet at one point for the BBC again. done a lot of work for the BBC as a broadcaster. So I've done all sorts of weird stuff, and I've enjoyed it. So, and that's really been how I've directed my career, is that I do things that I enjoy. And when I stop enjoying it, I stop doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, there's two things that you kind of mentioned here that one, for the most part, it seems like you had a trend of getting offered jobs.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, especially these days with the amount of competition out there, they're not in the same position, which is kind of the reason for today's session.
Yes.
But also another thing that you mentioned is that you're not comfortable doing just one thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will be like, oh, that seems unstable. That seems like it's instability as a living standard. And for me, I actually agree with you. I cannot sit and do one thing. And actually, I find myself more successful in each thing that I do when I'm handling a bigger workload of diverse projects. So, for example, working with the family and doing the Leaders Talk, like I was saying earlier, and all of these things that I'm doing at the same time, it actually adds to me, because there's a saying even, if you want something done, ask the busiest person in the room.
Yeah, absolutely true. Do you know, I actually feel in my day-to-day, I often feel quite lazy. But people are always saying to me, how do you achieve as much as you achieve? How do you do as much as you do? And I don't really subscribe to the hours of 9 to 5. It's not working that way for me today. I will, if I feel tired during the day, I will go and have a sleep. I will very often start the day thinking I'm going to do something and end up doing something completely different. So I've got ADHD, and I'm dyslexic, and those things come together.
Me too, on both counts.
and those come together, and I don't fight them. I embrace them. And I wouldn't have had my career in advertising without those two things. And it shapes my career. So very much when you've got ADHD, you're very good at focusing on one thing that you find very exciting. But when something else exciting comes along, then, you're onto that, and this gets neglected. So I found a way that I can actually get projects completed. But at the moment, I've got half a dozen projects on the go, and I'm going from one to the other. And I just try to find my way back to try and finish these projects off or nudge them a little bit further. So at the moment, I'm doing 2 studies at the moment. One's an academic study that's I've been accepted into a journal. I just need to write up the study. And the other is a study that I did because I'm an idiot. it's a study that you know about, which is looking at ghosting and what percentage of people get ghosted, what percent of the time. And
yeah, you and I had a heated debate a couple of weeks ago on that.
Yeah. And it is absolutely shocking, the results that I've got. And I don't think there's a lot of recruiters who I don't think they understand the psychological scarring that they cause. I
Mhm.
don't think they understand how emotionally damaging it is the way that they're behaving. And I think there's a lot to blame on the tools that we're using at the moment
Big time.
and metrics. This idea that the more people you have applying to it, the more success you've had. No, absolutely not. The fewest people you get applying for the job, the more successful you are. If you get 3 applicants and they're the right people, brilliant, you've nailed it. If you get 1,000 applicants, you've done something wrong.
Mhm.
So I think that the tools at the moment they're breaking the recruitment industry. They're shattering trust in people who are applying for jobs at the moment. And a lot of them have told me stories of how they've applied for jobs for companies that were dream companies. They've ended up being ghosted, not getting any feedback, chasing, and then seeing their job that they'd applied for advertised again. And they're now like, I would never touch that company now. I've lost trust in them. So the recruitment process is destroying the trust that so many potentially talented people have in those companies. So there's a lot of recruiters have got a lot to answer for right now, I think.
It is. I mean, I for a long time I was running. I was trying to run the same kind of business model as most recruitment firms, and what I realized is that we're not keeping up with things. Neither are we keeping up with the client specific needs and their niche needs, or are we keeping up with all the clients that are applying? And the thing is, we wanted to, but we couldn't. Even though I created a lot of email triggers. For those who don't know what an email trigger is, it's when you're either rejected or moved to the next stage of a recruitment process, it automatically sends an email with what your next steps should be. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, even with the email triggers, people would still get upset. They still have detailed questions that we wouldn't be able to get to all of them. And especially when you're using a big platform like LinkedIn, when you do a job post, especially in like a bigger market, you're going to get hundreds of applicants. And then the worse the economy is, which it's horrible now globally right now, you're going to get even 200 or 300 of applicants.
Yep.
And that basically means that how is one recruiter handling one vacancy going to keep up with all of these people and answer each specific question? The systems themselves are not designed, one, for actual custom tailored feedback to each candidate, and they're not designed for the current economic situation either.
Yeah.
And on top of that, and I mean, sorry, I'm going to add one more thing, which is important. It's soft skills, actually, very basic. The soft skills that recruiters have is that if you look at the trend, you look up any recruiter right now that you know on LinkedIn, when did they graduate college? They are either a fresh graduate or they've been out of college for at least 5 years, and that's it. And the problem with that is that they don't understand, first of all, life on a bigger level, like having children and responsibility, financial responsibilities, taking out a loan or 2 loans to pay for things that you actually need for you and your family, and the financial stress involved with that.
Yeah.
So they haven't reached that stage in life where they're even capable of comprehending the empathy required to handle these kind of vacancies, much less understanding the managerial perspective of what's actually needed. So I'm looking at both sides. I'm looking at what the candidates are getting as lack of support from recruiters, but I'm also looking at what management is getting as a lack.
Yep.
It's like you want me to manage the entire recruitment process for a vacancy that only you know the truth about.
Yep. And I guess the part of the question then comes to, I guess the topic of this is that can AI help recruiters on one side with that?
Yeah.
So there's AI on both sides of this. And we have seen problems with that over the last few years because AI has been used in recruitment for a few years now. And when it's learning from horribly biased organizations' hiring practices, it just copies the bias and sometimes magnifies it. And having built-in racism and ethnocentrism and all, even looking, it picks up, basically, it goes, what kind of people have been recruited in the past? I'm going to follow that as an example, turn that into an algorithm, and it ends up being just as biased, if not more biased, than the humans.
So one of the dirty truths, one of the really dirty secrets that the recruitment industry has, and I don't mind because honestly, I'm leaning more in other parts of my business, so I'll go ahead and admit it, right? So one of the dirtiest parts about the recruitment industry, okay, we do believe in DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We do, but the thing is, the faster they close a vacancy, the faster they get paid. The faster they get paid, the faster they're going to be able to cover their own expenses as a firm. Now, the thing here is, in order to make sure that vacancies are getting closed, subconsciously, a recruiter will identify the hiring manager's biases. So now, right, a lot of companies are equal employment opportunity organizations, right? But there's still the subconscious biases and fallacies that we're unaware of, that are deep rooted in the back of our heads. And unless you're consciously trying to eliminate that from the way you approach the hiring process, you can get tricked into hiring the wrong person.
Interesting.
So recruiters, in order to close the vacancy faster and look like a better recruiter to their boss, third-party recruiters I'm talking about, is what's going to happen is they're going to send you a candidate that they know you're going to hire, whether they're qualified or not.
Interesting. That's, yeah, I'm not surprised, but I'm still disgusted.
I am too. And that is exactly why I stopped caring about my recruitment service as much.
Yeah.
And that's actually why, I'm a firm believer now, like, you're tackling this from the AI perspective, but I'm also tackling it from the SEO perspective. So like, how do you leverage search engine optimization to your benefit, which is kind of talking about the Boolean. So today we're taking requests. By the way, if anyone is watching right now, go ahead and let us know where you're from, what you're looking for, if it's a job, if it's building a lead list, if it's God knows what, type it in the comment section, just so we know that you're alive and breathing. If not, that's fine. I'm sure me and Dave can come up with our own examples if we're a non-participative crowd. But hey, this is in anyone's interest. And trust me, when you give me what you're looking for, and I show you, and I give you back the search string that I'm going to build for you on this live session right now in this discussion, you're actually going to benefit more than anyone else. Because I actually charge to do this for $125 for half an hour consultation, and you guys are getting it for free. So make the most of this time.
There you go. It's a deal.
So, yeah. So it's also important, that we look at things in an objective manner, regardless, even when you're applying to a job as a job seeker. You have to be objective, because the worst thing, have you ever been lonely, Dave, for so long, and then the first woman that comes across, it's like your standards don't exist anymore. You're just willing to accept everything.
Never been there. Come on. Come on, look at me.
A lot of people have, I'll tell you that. And it's the same thing with jobs, okay? Because a job is like a partnership. A partnership's like a marriage, right? It's a contract at the end of the day. So what happens is, if you've been unemployed for so long, financially you're desperate. The sense of belonging, you're desperate. I'm talking basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs, physiological needs and belonging needs. These are the first two. And if you're lacking those, you're more willing to accept whatever comes your way, and sometimes you're even willing to forget about negotiating.
Yeah, and I think the more desperate people become, the more they do the blunderbuss approach of just sending out CVs blind about roles that there's even some kind of like tenuous possibility. And it brings the standard of applicants down, just overall. So I can see how that frustrates recruiters, that you get so many people applying who aren't suited to the job, and it's not something they're passionate about. But they're just
They haven't even read the
applying out
job
desperately.
description. They're just applying blindly because out of desperation.
And I guess, I've got my course on LinkedIn Learning, which is AI for job seekers. So it's how to use it to help you apply for jobs. And I know that a lot of people are using it to apply for jobs in ways that is just helping them churn out more low quality applications. What I'm showing people how to do is how to use it to tailor what they're doing to be more specific, to help to really find out the places that are right for them to work.
Mhm.
And you can use it in two ways. You can use it as a way to help you achieve more, or you can use it just to churn out more low quality stuff. And the problem is 90% are going to use it for churning out low quality. And that doesn't help them. It doesn't help recruiters. It just brings the whole thing down for everyone. And it makes
And it
them
does.
feel worthless. Yeah.
And that's actually one thing that we used to deal with quite a bit is when I would be applying, when I would be going through all the candidates that I've been applying. So some people obviously didn't even read the job description. Like a
Yeah.
CEO would be applying to a junior accountant position. Like why? Like, should I even give him? Should I even, if he didn't give me the respect to read the job description, should I give him the respect to respond to him and explain why I'm gonna reject him, basically?
Yeah.
We have someone here, Anita Gray, who is actually a friend of mine. Well, it's nice to see you on here. This is from the YouTube. All right. Alive and breathing. Thank you for the opportunity to listen to you guys. Thank you for the opportunity for us to talk to you. The question is, how do you be hired without selling yourself? I'm gonna go ahead and say that's not possible.
I would ask the question: why wouldn't you sell yourself? I don't understand that. I think you don't have to do it in a salesy, schmaltzy manner, but like anything that you sell, what you do is, here's the benefits of this product. You're the product. You need to communicate the benefits of an employer employing you. You need to talk about the features. What is it that makes you suitable? And if people don't understand that's just, it's basic selling, but you don't have to do it in a salesy way. That's my approach. But you understand this far more.
100%. I mean, look, it's not so much selling. It's what I would say, it's going in with modest confidence. You don't want to be confident to the point where you're coming off as egocentric.
Yeah.
But you do want to be confident enough to stand your ground if you feel like you're being disrespected, especially when it comes to the job offer. They want you to work 40 hours a week. They got to make it worth your time, because you could be using that time elsewhere a lot more productively, or even simply spending time with your family, which is what everyone really wants to do at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
Make it worth your time.
If selling means that you have to be cocky about it, then I don't like that myself. I think you can have, to be honest, I think the more confident you are, the less cocky you come across, because you don't need to push yourself and be brash about anything. I get, if someone's like that to me, it just puts up my defenses.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about giving an example here. I'll actually use the same example I gave my brother the other day when we were having the discussion about this live chat that I'm going to be doing. So hold on, let me just find the window. There you go. So I actually picked a neutral Google. Okay, wait, we have another candidate, another person here. Hi, I'm Megan Folks. I hope I said your name correctly. If I didn't, please forgive me. You're based in Dubai. Nice to meet you as well. So your first question is, when looking for a company you would like to work for, what are some of the things to look out for when you're concerned, and work culture? First of all, insist on doing the interview in the office, because that'll give you a better vibe. But second, also really think about the questions they're asking you and if it's actually relevant to the work, or if it's kind of, if you're feeling objectified, then I wouldn't say that's a good culture for you to work at. Now, the second question, sorry, I'm just going to answer my, Dave, you want to give your insight on that first question?
Yeah. I think I would say there's sites like Glassdoor that give you quite a good insight as to what previous employees think of the place. And it is definitely worth looking at that to see, is it a toxic culture? Because people will be very honest. Naturally, most people who go on there will try and bitch and gripe about the company, but it gives you an understanding of what some of the issues could potentially be. If you know anyone there, then talk to them, find out what they think about it. And I think you're absolutely right. Remember that an interview is a two-way process. It's not just them interviewing you about your suitability. You also have to think about it as you interviewing them about their suitability to fit in with your life. And ask questions in the interview. Ask questions about the things that matter to you. What is the work-life balance here? What is your policy for whatever else that you think is important? And look for things like, do they have ethical statement on their site? What are do they share their policies and their sort of belief? Does that ring true with you, or does it feel like hollow BS? Because to me, 90% of those on websites feel like hollow BS, and that kind of sets up a red flag for me. If it just feels vacuous, as if not much thought has gone into what's our purpose, what's our values. So I look at that kind of stuff as well.
Great answer, Dave. Great answer. I actually didn't even think about those. Let's see what the second question is. I also wanted to ask, sorry, remember guys that me and Dave are both mildly dyslexic, so it's going to take a second to read. I also wanted to ask for some pointers on how to negotiate a salary for yourself. In the past, I've been asked what I was earning, and they used to based on the offer. Apologize. Yeah. Look, a lot of companies do that, and you know me. I had worked in a third party, but I also have my intense ethics, and I would get very frustrated with the clients when they would do that because I know that they would lose a good candidate. And to get a good candidate and to kind of convince them to go through the interview process is a hassle on its own, and for them to risk losing it by doing that, that's not a company you want to work for. And I'm not saying that forever, because that's really based on what the manager is doing, and that might not be the same at a different department. It might be a good company overall. So I wouldn't. We always say don't judge someone based on first impressions. Or at least, be willing to give benefit of the doubt. But make sure that you don't ever tell them what salary you were making. What you can say, and which is what I always say when I used to apply to jobs, is whatever your salary scales are, I would like to understand what they are, and we can negotiate based on that. If they don't have a salary grading structure, then what I would do, on the contrary, is actually, I'll show you really quick here. This is a part of what I do. Okay, so we do, for example, salary scales. Okay, let's say Dubai. You said you're in Dubai, right? Okay, I assume, well, let's say you're an accountant. So accountant or accounting, right? And I don't know. Yeah, let's just see what happens there. Did I say Dubai? I said Dubai. Let's also add some more stuff in here. Dubai or UAE or oh, there you go. Hold on, sorry. Abu Dhabi. Okay. So now, okay. So now you've just found the average benchmark. No, not now. So you've just found a benchmark of the national average salary range for accountant. Now, again, this is a service that I offer, and you guys are getting it for free. So if you want to know what salary scales are, or if there's jobs, anything that you want to find, it could even be just leads. Okay, you need to type in what you're looking for and give me keywords, and then I'll put it up in here, and we'll find it together, and then I'll share that search string with you on the comment section, and it's all yours. You keep it. Anyways, that's now you have a basis to negotiate your salary scale on. Now, how do you think of it? It's between 13,500 and 19,000 USD. You don't want to over negotiate. So if you've only been in this profession for like a year, don't go asking for the 19,000s. That's probably considered a senior accountant. So you want to be in the mid-range or lower, depending on what your skills are, your qualifications, and you need to be able to justify it to the person you're negotiating with. So I hope that answers your question and also gives you a tool for you to overcome these issues.
Could you, while you've got that up there, could you explain? I understand a bit about Boolean searches, but I think it's worth describing why do you have things in double quotes and why are you putting things in brackets?
All right. So between quotes means that it's a combination of one word or two words, and you want them in that specific order: salaries and scales. Okay. And that's why it popped up.
So that's basically saying that exact term. This exact term has to be.
We want that exact term. So that exact term becomes the equivalent of its own word. And then here you have. So here we're looking for kind of like a region. So Dubai and it has to be both caps. So it's what we call a command. So or UAE or Abu Dhabi. So any one of these three will be good for us. And then accountant or accounting, because sometimes they call them financial accounting or financial accountant or God knows what. So you just create some different scenarios where Google might pull up the best result, and that's kind of it.
Great. Now there's other stuff we can do by eliminating stuff. So
on Google, it's actually pretty simple. You just do the minus sign and you say finance, for example. And anything that's finance related got removed from the search. And you can see the difference in the search results. So if I go back, it's a major difference. And that's about it for now. We also have. Oh, you're welcome, Megan. I should have proofread my questions. I appreciate your answers. I never thought of using Google like this. That was very interesting. Look, you don't have to proofread. I mean, it's kind of more of birth defects combined with not paragraphing your questions. So we have Mr. Samir Akawi. Well, I don't know why I'm saying it that way. I can actually pronounce your name correctly. Samir Akawi. Sam here from Canada, and I'm alive. Nice. The question is
one of my favorite members of the audience. You know, I much prefer performing to living people. I find that they're
definitely
it's more enjoyable.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise you're just kind of like a zombie.
Yeah. I mean, it's that or an accountancy conference. You know, I much prefer living people. Sorry,
tax season. The question is, how do you get screened out when you're technically matching the job requirements? You probably get screened out because you put in the expected salary probably more than they were willing to pay. That's probably that's the main reason that normally happens, actually. Another reason is because the hiring manager might actually be scared that you might take his position. And I mean, if you're really qualified, that happens a lot more than I care to admit.
Yeah, and I'm sure sort of bias can come into play here as well, where whatever they can tell about you, if they feel that doesn't fit the organization, because the organization is all a bunch of preppy white boys who have all gone to a certain university. then and you don't fit that, then yeah,
True.
might not work
And
out.
actually, to build on your biases, I mean, we got to talk about the two standard, I mean, the two main biases. There's a lot of fallacies that people can do and make base decisions on in terms of judging other people. But the ones that we're going to talk about are horn effect and halo effect. So when we talk about the halo effect, let's say I had a really good experience with someone, and I'll never forget that person, and they got me through very hard times throughout my life. Now, anyone that I meet that looks like that person or sounds like that person or smells like that person, all of a sudden they're an angel to me. But to the contrary, if you had a really toxic boss in the past and they kind of like destroyed your career, more or less, and then anyone you meet that smells like them, that sounds like them, that looks like them, you're by default going to want to get them out of your life as fast as possible as a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
So there's lots of kind of subconscious stuff going on in terms of hiring practices. It's really as all these investments in HR tech and everything like that. And I believe it does need to be invested on and it does need to be improved. But even with $200 million funding for some startup out of California or San Antonio or God knows what, I can tell you this. It doesn't matter how much money you put into it because human error will always ruin any kind of software that you're trying to build.
Yeah. That's where artificial intelligence meets actual stupidity. And that's what I'm worried about more. Actual stupidity is the more dangerous thing. Humans are the biggest variable when it comes to how technology, whether it's going to be used for good or bad. And that's why at the moment I'm really interested in seeing if we can get control of AI and put it in the right direction. Because sadly, when you leave it up to humans, and humans are lazy and humans are flawed, then it's like yin and yang. It can be used for bad as much as it can be used for good.
I mean, then if you're using machine learning to build AI and you're basing it on things that we have opinions about, then it's going to have its own biases built on a combination of the world biases.
Yeah.
So we have another question actually, which is from Sami Awad. So you said you're looking for salary scales in Amman, right? So actually, I don't need to cut that. Amman, and for the sake of being specific, Jordan. Okay, now keep in mind that most of the salary scales that you find online are a little bit higher than the actual salary scales, and the reason is because most of these are based on surveys, and a lot of people lie about the salary they're making so they can make a higher salary when they get their next job offer. Okay, and that's based on fact and truth because I've been doing recruitment for about 7 years now. So so you said project manager, so let's be specific. Project manager. Okay. All right. Let's see where we can find this. Let's try in something even more simpler. Sorry, skills. Yep. Sometimes Boolean is just a bunch of trial and error until you find the right thing. It's not an exact science, but once you find the right search string, you want to save it to your Google Alerts so it pops up every single time. Okay, I'm going to do something else. Site.com.
So when you put in site.com, we're basically limiting it to websites that end with the .com suffix.
Hey, there's my company.
Ooh.
Okay, this is not working for some reason. Let's try something else. Or site. Let's expand the search a bit. .org. Because sometimes there's a lot of NGOs that actually
Okay.
do these surveys as well. And if we diversify, let's actually just do this then. Fine. Is there something called salaryscales.com maybe? Let's try that. Oh, that worked. Payscale. Okay, don't tell Payscale we did this, guys. Honestly, they need to improve their their stuff. Project manager. There you go. It's an unspecified type. So I'm sure that if we're talking about the industry of programming and outsourcing for BPO based programming firms, then salary scales would be very high. If we're talking about construction, it needs to be more specific, Mr. Sami. So if you don't mind telling me the industry as well, because that would differentiate things for us. But basically, it ranges from, is this per year or per month? Average salary on man is 11,000. Oh, it's per year. Okay, so this is per year. That makes more sense. So it's between. This doesn't make sense at all. Okay,
That's quite a broad salary range.
that's a horrible salary range. I'm sorry, but they need to redo the survey. All right. Well, from what I know in construction, it could max I have ever seen, I think, was around 2,000 JDs a month. And then when you look at other markets, Sami, I'm waiting for you to share with me the industry so I can try again. But when you're talking about programming, it could go up to 4,000 or 5,000 JDs a month. But these people normally have a master's degree and at least 10 years experience. So, I mean, industry really makes an impact on what we're talking about. And I think that's the reason we saw such a big difference in the salary scales. Let me see if I can scroll down and see something else or not. Glassdoor, project manager. Okay. So yeah, actually, I'm going to share the screen again because we're coming up on some stuff here. We didn't even try to scroll down earlier, so I apologize for that. I was specific with project manager. Let's do salary scales or range. There you go. Oh, okay. Yeah, this seems to be more accurate. Didn't connect the database. Did they catch us trying to open this up? Anyways, it seems that the average salary scale for this is 2,060 JDs a month. So I hope that answers your question. I'm actually going to go ahead and share this with you. I can get more specific on how we do things, but that would be in my private service one-on-one consultation. All right.
No, sale ends Tuesday.
There you go. So I shared it here in case anyone wants to use it on Google and try it out and play with it. There you go. So another thing that crossed my mind is the salary scales, actually. A lot of companies will pay a lot of money to big companies, to other big firms that have salary scales so they can have access and they don't have to do the research themselves. The issue with that is, for example, one time I had a company, I'm not going to mention names, they came in trying to sell me their salary scale database. And I asked them one simple question, or two simple questions. I said, one, where do you get the salaries from? Like, who fills in these surveys for you? And what did they tell me is that it's the employees that fill them out. I'm like, and employees have never lied about their salaries. And then the second question I asked them is, do you account for outliers? And they asked me, what is an outlier? I'm like, this is really bad. You need to know statistics. So I'm like, when we talk about outliers, we're talking about So like, let's say I put a range of 2,000 to 4,000 JDs. That's the salary range for a position I'm looking for. What if someone goes in, and we remember bell curves here, guys. When what if someone goes in and says my salary scale was 10,000 JDs a month? Wouldn't he ruin that curve for the salary scales, for the average salary scale? So the fact that they didn't even know what an outlier was, and they had to call in front of me, their programmers, to ask if they eliminate outliers or not, and they don't, means that all their data is wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, make sure that you know where the data is coming from. That's the best piece of advice I can give you.
Good.
Yeah. So Dave, do you have any more insights? Because guys, if anyone else has any more questions, please go ahead and comment. We need to know that you're still alive and still breathing, you know, or maybe we need to, you know, put on an emergency contact in the comment sections if you're feeling something, and we can contact them for you.
So I'd be interested if anyone here that's listening just now, do you use AI either in your job applications or as a recruiter, and how do you use it? That'd be sort of really interesting to know. I've been finding that, as I said, that some people are using it just for quantity, and others are using it for quality. And I'm really interested in where this goes in the industry as we start to build more AI tools into the recruitment process. And I wonder if these are things that are going to be added into like LinkedIn's platform to help you. So I'd
for recruitment, you know, I actually, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share information, but I actually attended a LinkedIn conference in Dubai, and they were talking about AI, and that was pretty interesting. But I think they're still working on it. Actually, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know the details though. I kind of had an ADD moment in the conference. I saw a bird out the window, you know.
That happens to me a lot.
But when I actually use ChatGPT quite a bit, and one thing that I use it for is simplifying emails that I receive.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, especially, you know, with dyslexia and ADD, you like the patience or the capacity to read a long-winded email.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what happens is I'll actually take it and then I'll ask ChatGPT to simplify it like they're talking to a 5-year-old. And I'm like, okay, got it. Now I know how to respond.
Yeah. Please list the action points.
Yeah.
That I need to deal with.
Yeah. And then sometimes I'll ask it to draft emails for me, or draft even captions for me if I'm doing a job post. And the thing is, if you're smart with how you enter the commands into ChatGPT, or scripts is what they call them. If you're smart with how you enter the script, it'll actually search for the top trending hashtags as well. So you'll actually end up getting a lot more applicants. For those who, you know, Dave doesn't agree with, who who want large quantities of applicants. Now, just to be clear, when it comes to recruitment, we have a volume-based approach, and then we also have quality-based approach. The thing is, when you're doing like a big project and I got to hire 20 accountants all at once, that is the only time that you should do a job post. When it's 10 or more for the same position. If it's not 10 or more, it deserves you being giving it the time it deserves, the attention it deserves, and the attention that those people deserve, and that manager deserves. You're not hiring numbers, you're hiring people. And if you don't treat it that way, when you have the luxury to treat it that way, then you're not a good recruiter. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sorry. No, I'm saying it like it is.
Yeah, there was something I did a few years ago to help a tech company find developers, and created a banner that says that was telling people that we were looking for developers, a particular kind of developer. So then people would click on this banner if they were that kind of developer, and it would take them to a website that looked as if it hadn't loaded properly. And it said error 592. And any sort of decent developer that was the kind that we were looking for would know that that error doesn't exist. So they would go, what? So in the source code of the page, we then had the information on how to apply. And we knew that developers would look, anyone that was curious would look, they would spot the problem, they would look at the source code, then they would basically see what the job advertisement was in the code of the page. Now, they got 3 applicants, and that was perfect. All 3 of them were bang on the kind of person they wanted to hire. Actually, the struggle was which of those 3 would they choose? And they had 1 job, and they ended up hiring 2 people.
Wow.
Because the quality that they got was just absolutely perfect. So I'm really interested in stuff that actually puts people off, or stuff that is experiential to make sure that you're nailing it down to the actual people that you want to hire. So I think there's too much that is just about throwing out a net and trying to catch as much as you can. It's not the way you should be doing recruitment.
100%. And also, if you think about it, if everyone is doing what you're doing, how are you competing?
Yeah.
And yeah, recruiters need to compete. We're competing for the top talent. It is,
Yep.
they say it's a war on talent. It's always been a war on talent.
Yeah.
And it's not technically, they say it's war on talent. It's a war for talent. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
Yeah.
It's not like you're fighting talent.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we're finding that young people that are coming out of university they're a lot more fussy. They're harder to get. So what trends are you seeing with recruitment yourself?
Well, I've been trying to escape the game, but it's not. It keeps pulling me back in.
Please stop hiring them.
Can I? I'm going to show you this really quick. Sorry, I'll share the screen. Come here. I'm going to show you how I'm trying to escape the game, and people don't understand me when I say this. Okay. And they don't understand me until they see this. So I have manpower services. Come on. Would you please work already? Things. I think I have too many things running on my laptop at this moment. There you go. I have English and Arabic for my website. Recent. I still need to fix the translations. Wow, this is taking quite some time. Come on. So first of all, I created. I go down here, right? I don't know what widget you're talking about. I don't have a widget. Anyways, so here I created my testimonials. I created this, and then here I'm trying to sell something. I'm trying to sell basically this service where I'm doing the search strings, and I'm selling the search string tailored for whoever. But this is like, this turns off a lot of companies because I don't want to do recruitment anymore, to be quite honest. but if they make it worth my time, I'm going to do it. So then you have my portfolio, and it's really long, so they have to scroll all the way to the bottom. I'm trying to discourage people, and they don't get it. Okay.
You're playing hard to get. It makes you more attractive.
And here I don't do success-based recruitment anymore. And even if I do, here it is. It's $950 as a down payment. I'm legitimately, even financially, trying to discourage people. Anyways, it's just that, recruitment is so time consuming, and there's so many things I'd rather be doing.
Yeah. And
so that was just a fun tangent for me to go off on. I don't know how I got here though. So other than salary scales, yes, of course we do. So this, I think LinkedIn would appreciate this. So I'll take my commission in the form of a wire transfer. Thank you, LinkedIn. Site. Okay. Here now, it's important that you're in Dubai. So I'm going to put the subdomain. This is called the subdomain for LinkedIn. Okay. And then if you notice that at the end of every person's LinkedIn profile, it says "in" on the URL. In this situation, it says jobs. So I'm not sure what you're looking for, but let's assume it's accounting, Megan, again, or accountant, just for the sake of the argument. And then let's make it more specific, okay? Just to minimize the search, financial accountant, or let's say cost accountant. I have a lot of exposure to accounting. I think people can tell, aside from the way I just spelled accounting. Okay. So here, now you have all of these, right? The thing is, and this is really important for people to know, I mentioned this on the Instagram and the videos I did leading up to this event. Companies don't necessarily only use LinkedIn, and some don't use LinkedIn at all. Some only use one platform, and some use all the platforms. So it's important that you don't limit yourself to just this. Okay. Oh, I'm not screen sharing. Oh, thank you. Sorry. So thank you, Megan. You really are awesome. I appreciate the candor. So here we have site AE. This is the subdomain. LinkedIn.com/jobs. I'll share this with you in the comment section. Here you go. There you go. And make sure that whenever you're trying to use the ors, that the or Megan, can you confirm for me that the what I'm sending in the comments is coming to LinkedIn, because I know it's going to YouTube. Anyways, so now we have this. Now, what I was saying is that because companies don't necessarily use LinkedIn, or some use all platforms, or some people just use their own website to post jobs, it's important that you don't limit yourself. So what you do is .com and careers. And now, even if it's a company, even if it's a website that does jobs specifically, you just got all their career jobs. See what I'm talking about? And now you can be more specific what you're doing over here. This is actually what recruiters use to find a lot of top talent beyond LinkedIn. Okay. Now, I'm giving you something that is so valuable, you will never need to pay for anyone to help you find a job again.
Nice.
Yep. And yeah, so that's my skills, my area of expertise, which is search as a search consultant. Dave, we're running out of time. Do you have any?
We are. Well, I just want to point people to, if you've not done my LinkedIn for job seekers course, if you're a recruiter, you should probably do it. If you're searching for a job, you should probably do it. It's going to be helpful because you're going to get an idea of how you can use AI in a way that elevates what you do rather than just makes it faster. It's all about quality, not quantity and speed. So I'd recommend you do that if you can.
Yeah, you can even use ChatGPT, for example, AI, to edit your search strings, which I do sometimes. But actually, I end up doing better than the ChatGPT. I think it uses like standard boilerplate. It doesn't use like Google Boolean specifically, or Bing specifically. So I've been trained on Google, Bing, and Excelid. So all of these are different search engines that I like to mess around with. But yeah. You're not seeing it on the LinkedIn post. Megan, I will share it on the LinkedIn post. I'll copy and paste and send it over there, unless you want to check it out on the YouTube page. Yeah. Does anyone have any last minute questions in the meantime?
Well, I need to run to my next meeting now. So
okay. Well, you can ask us the questions in the comments and we'll get back to you.
It will indeed. It will indeed.
All right.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Dave.
It's been great hanging out with you as always. So
Absolutely.
hopefully see you
I'll
soon.
see
And
you
thanks
soon.
everyone for tuning in.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Megan, and everyone else that participated. Thank you, Dave, for attending and being another amazing guest, speaker, friend, as usual.
Wonderful. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.